I figured it was about time to get some of this going. I've made a few adjustments and changes, and we've done some serious work around the area and the base. Hello, everybody. This is Frogman. Welcome back to Captain of Industry. The island is starting to take the shape that I would like it to be. I mean, as we do things and we like stuff to be nice and neat and square and taken care of, it's nothing better than a nice straight edge going from one end of the place to the other. We are going to continue that edge as we get closer to this little mountain, because this mountain or this island has a whole bunch of titanium in it that we're eventually going to need. And, well, you know, it is kind of what it is. It's just a simple little thing. And I guess when you have too much gravel or too much rock, you just dump it into the ocean until you have a flat place to build on. So I have been busy. It has probably been about 200 or so many years since the last episode. That is mainly due to the fact that I have been trying again to build out this little bit, clean up this current little discussion that we did here. And, well, it's always kind of fun how long it takes to relay grass underneath things. So we did scrape out the single layer underneath all of the rock, or I should say the rock, and place down a layer of dirt just in case. I am entertaining the idea of moving the farms, moving and expanding the farms to this location. I believe actually I could scoot it over a little bit further and get one more in here and still have plenty of room to drive around it. The reasoning is we're going to get to the point where we're going to need to start moving people. We still have one more upgrade, and I believe this next housing upgrade will take us up to 400 and something per household environment thing, whatever this neighborhood dealie is that they do. I don't know exactly what this is considered, but it works. But we are going to probably start needing to advance the people worker situation, because there are some new technologies that we've had for a little while that we haven't gotten to play with, and I would like to kind of at least experiment and see what they're like. So going forward, we're kind of at a spot right now, as you guys are probably noticing, that I've been doing a little bit of moving things around, so we're going to get to it. Going forward, there's some situations IRL for me that I need to kind of speak on, I suppose. And I'm going to try really hard to continue to put out episodes, but this may end up being that we may need to go back to 2 a week for a little while. I'm not going to say anything other than my workload has changed, and certain things have got me busy when I normally would be busy. So it's nothing terrible, but I'm gonna work on the workload. We're gonna figure out how to make this work so we can keep this going. But I'm going to have to start dealing with a little bit of a different recording schedule, basically because my workload, the thing that actually pays the bills around here, is changing for me. So I need to, leverage that against the rest of this. I'm not saying we're done, but I'm going to have to do a couple of things. So there may be a couple of short episodes coming up just because, well, I've got to figure out what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and talk about what we've done around here, and then we'll see if we can't get anything done today, but that's fine. I wanted to kind of at least talk about what I have done and what some of the future plans are for our world. So we've already got a couple of things laid out, and again, like I said, we've got this stuff laid over here, and I've started to think about how I'm going to expand steel because, well, we're going to need more steel. I did, in between episodes, do what I've been meaning to do for quite a while, and that is to move copper out of the area. I should have just done that originally, but the reason why you kind of tend to not do that early on is the cost of these belts can get pretty stinking expensive after a while. I mean, they're not really all that bad when you think about it, but when you're starting to talk about how much a blast furnace costs to make versus how much a belt actually costs to make, sometimes it's just better to leave that here. One thing that is nice about upgrading and moving or doubling up on processes is that you already have half of the parts that you need, or most of half of the parts that you need to build the new facility. So really all you got to do is just accumulate enough parts to be able to build the double. So what I did with this one is the same thing I kind of did with that one. I built this half first, this corner hat right here first, and then once I got it up and running and it was delivering parts to this storage, I ripped out the old one and it's literally kind of one of those, then you unpause this and then you blow out the rest of it, and they just basically take the parts from here over to here, dump it into the system, and build the thing for you so you don't have to worry about it too much. So for now, we are doubled up on the copper. We're now making, what is it, like 192 times 2? What is it? 192 times 2, so we're making 384. for now as far as copper is concerned. Steel, I'm going to probably need to get to work on and again double this so that we can make a whole lot more steel, but that is going to require again a whole lot more parts that I have right now. We're going to need to start accumulating those things. So I hate to say it, I think we're getting to the point now where it's time to take a step back and refactor the factory so that it can actually be a little bit more efficient before we start jumping into some serious new technologies like this stuff, which is part of the reason why you're seeing the thing that we have down here. Our power plant has moved. It used to be over here, and it used to not look like that. I decided that instead of doing the thing that I do, and I like symmetrical builds, I like to try to keep things either easily to upgrade or symmetrical. I like them just to look good. And in this case right here, this is easily doubled. I just grab it and drop it down next to it and we make it work. But at least this way you can kind of commonsensically understand what the heck's going on, at least for the most part. It still looks good. It's just, I don't know. I kind of like to make things symmetrical. So that means I would have kind of flipped things around and make stuff just to where, it's even both sides. The reason why I brought these all down over here was because we needed to continue this coastline out. We've completed that out now, and I have room for more stuff to build. The coal ship has been brought over as well, and I believe, no, it's not this one, it's the other one. We're going to talk about that in a second as well. I have installed or added in a new technology that we researched, and it's something that's a very big deal once you get to the point where we are now, especially once we start talking about moving into nuclear. So vacuum desalination is an amazing little thing that when you get to it, you probably should look at it regardless of how much power it costs you to run. Yes, I know there's a lot of vacuum desalinators there, and I know they all take 600 or 400 kilowatts per each to run. That's also, they also don't necessarily need as many offshore pumps, but you got to kind of realize the process here. Vacuum desalination compared to regular desalination here. So if we look at the regular desalination here, once the process is over with, we get 78 water per one of these machines. In vacuum desalination, we take 15 of the seawater, mix it with a little bit of steam, where basically we're condensing the steam using cold steam water, and we're gaining water every time we do this. The reason why this is important, and I guess I should probably explain why this is important. Let's go look at one of these things. So in a regular cooling tower, especially if you're planning on recycling water, you're losing half of it in a regular cooling tower. Now, there's a reason to move to the larger cooling towers, and we'll get to that in a second, but just basically kind of keep this thought in your mind that if you're using a cooling tower, you're losing water. So in these, we're losing half the water, and in a normal or in a big cooling tower, we'll grab one of these large cooling towers and put it down over here so we can do the math. We're losing, I forget what it is. It's like, let me do the math here. 72 divided by 96. So you're losing about a quarter of the water. Just as for instance, you're losing a quarter of the water with this instead of a half if you're using the depleted steam. So the reason why that's important, and I know I said that a couple of times, is that if you lose water, you're going to have to input more water, which means you have to spend more on various resources to get the water put into the system. If, however, you use the vacuum desalination process, you're going to take the initial water that you would put in. I know this says 24. Let's just say like this here. This particular low pressure turbine is fed by this particular high pressure turbine, which is fed by this particular boiler. That's inputting 48 water and giving us out 48 steam. So at the end of it, we'll have 48 depleted steam. If we take 48 depleted steam and we shove it into 2 thermal desalinators, we will get 66 water back. Well, that's an interesting number because if you take 66 minus 48, you get a bonus amount of water of 18. 18 water on top of what you would have got prior. Well, that's a really nice number to know considering the fact that if I take 48, well, I should say just take the extra one here. 48 times 8, which is how many of those things we have right now, that's 384 water. If you take whatever a number was here, 66 minus 48, that's 18 times 8. 18 times 8, you now have 144 extra water that you can put on top of the system, which is neat because now instead of me continuously running these things to try to keep up with stuff, this is running on its own water to excess, which means in theory, if you want to, you can just, well, close loop this, use an external little device over here to, well, make sure that the excess is plumbed into the system, and then whatever else is left gets stuck into your water supply if you want to. I've decided no, I'm just going to include it with the rest of the system. But that's a really neat little deal because for the cost that it costs you here to make that kind of water, it's pretty expensive, especially on the fuels and the electricity and whatnot, because you have to be running one of these and several of those to keep up with. So it's one of those kinds of neat little things. Yes, it costs a lot of people. I'm not going to lie about that. But for the added extra water, it's worth the time and the effort to do in setting up the space. So that's one of the reasons why this is the way that this is. At this point with this system, pretty much our steam is a waste product, and I've actually thrown some of it away, which is kind of crazy, but at least it's not doing it right now, so we should be good. Everything's over here running, and I've had to do a bit of an upgrade for a couple of other things. I've also moved our data center down to a little bit of an area out of the way because the contemplation may be we may move the housing back towards this mountain, at least for the short period of time that we have it going. So I went ahead and moved it down here, added another one down along with another one of these water chillers. We are sitting full, I believe, at this one now, and we're having a nice almost 770 teraflops of power, which is pretty cool considering the fact that we did put in the internet thingy last time, and it's using a pretty decent amount of it. This is still one of those things. When we get to the point when we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff with these assemblers and some of the other things coming up, you're just going to want to spend the money and the time and the effort to make that work because it doesn't cost you any more than 6 people. It does continuously add more electricity the more things that you make, but it is very, very usable and very useful. So over to the other side over here, we kind of ran into a little bit of a problem with the oil, and I wanted to touch on this before I touched on anything else. And that fact is I finally burnt through this oil platform, this oil rig. We have another one. Actually, we have 2 more, I believe. I think I have another one up here. I'm unsure if there's going to be anything else back out here because I haven't been out those directions. But we do have another one available, and we're currently working off of this one, I believe, for right now. This one is good for right around another 500 years, supposedly. We'll see how that all goes. And it's just one of those things that will happen as we play around. I guess I have another one right there. I should get the repairs started on that one too. Do I have people that are not working right now while I'm thinking about it? No. Shoot. I'm not going to be able to do that right now. Actually, I do want to do a couple of things while we're here. Pause, 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 pause. No, not those, not those. This, and this. Did that give us a few people? No. Well, I may have to work on that in an eventual minute. We're going to need to do a few things as this goes, but yes. We have managed to use up 1 oil rig so far. We have this one ready to go. I will upgrade this one once we get a couple of things going, get it started just so we have some basic stuff happening. A lot of the ones, if you notice, we have them paused at this point, except for this one. I've paused a few of these because I've upgraded them enough to the point that we can use them now, and I was just trying to do that while we had the resources. I don't expect to be anything else out here. And I don't really expect to be anything much else out past this. I think the map is about done, actually. So we may have a little bit more out here. I don't know. We'll have to see once we get past these. Well, I guess I have a 610. I should have gone out there and taken care of it. But we ran out of oil, so that did cause a small problem. And it's one of those kinds of things. They don't tell you when the oil platform runs out of water or oil or whatever it is, or the mine runs out. It just goes away, kind of a thing. So that's a very important reason to try to keep alerts on various storages. Make sure you're paying attention to things because things like that can creep up on you. As far as other things going, we're running 3 of the little statues. We're making a nice minus 7% on our global maintenance, which is good. I do believe I have maintenance turned all the way up now, so that's a theoretical maintenance reduction by like 37, almost 40%, which is very, very handy because it can get really expensive, especially considering the fact that we're going to be building a lot of belts probably pretty soon, and I'm not looking forward to it. I did go ahead and upgrade the water situation here at this end of the deal. We're going to continue to use this for right now, and I'm keeping these two water systems separated, because eventually these people are going to be absolutely chewing through the water, and I don't need them to, well, be reliant on two separate or a single system tied together, because they can for sure start really eating water once we get to that point. It is feeding these. I know we'll have to work on fixing that later on, but again, I think I'm probably going to be moving these farms, like I said, either over here or up here. We are currently leveling this mountain because I'm hauling it to both this location, and we used it to square off this edge, and we're using it to fill in the sand pit here. I am going to just go ahead and scrub this all the way out to the edge over here and end it. I think we're going to leave what's here right now because I need the building space, the eventual building space. I know it kind of looks like a lot of surface area at this point in time, but my actual goal plans are going to require us to completely gut our current system and build as much of the, well, expand it basically. We're going to just try to make as much use of the surface area that we have and start absolutely cranking up on the production, because there's things coming. There's things coming, and that's why they're sitting here right now. I know we're kind of prattling and rattling around, so I'm just trying to get a few things done. Again, I don't know exactly what I'm going to be able to do today as far as this stuff is concerned. It's just trying to get a few things done and then AFKing while we're playing around, because we need to continuously tear out mountains and move things around and make flat surfaces for us. So the big problem that I'm going to say coming forward, and I suppose we can kind of talk about it, is some of the things that are existing now for us to use, that we can use. One of which is the Arc Furnace 2. Arc Furnace 2s are a replacement directly for blast furnaces. These guys right here. The problem with an Arc Furnace 2 is that they use a considerable amount of power. So if I look in here, every single one of these, if I just drop one down here, come here. Now, give me the thing. Thank you. Click. And you look at it, it's going to cost 6 megawatts of power per each thing. And the biggest problem is it's also still going to use, depending on the recipe, some of these are still going to use coal. So the glass is, well, I should say the silicon is one of those things you can probably kind of get away with it and do whatever you need to do, and it's not a big deal. Your main usage is going to be with the silicon, so it is kind of what it is. And yeah, you're probably going to yell at me because, which one was that one? Oh, why are you guys digging rocks again? Okay, yeah, no, we just hit a spot where they're digging a lot of rock, and that does tend to happen, especially over here. There's still a fair amount of coal in this mountain, but there's a lot of mountain on top of that coal. Why don't you do me a favor and stop playing over there and go like over there where there's lots of coal? Goofy things. Anyhow, we were discussing these. So this is one of those times when you can say, well, oh, I don't want to build that. I didn't want to build that. Why did I do this? Stop, cancel, destruction thing. This is one of those times when you can say, if you want to, you can move away from the solid fuel process and move towards power, which means you could then stop burning all of the coal in your blast furnaces and instead burn coal in, say, a system like this, or you could build a, like I said, once we get nuclear up and running and we get nuclear running decently well, we'll be able to expand our power system quite a bit. I told you, do not build it. Please, take it out of the way. It's okay. In that process, what that will allow you to do, at least for the interim of time, is you can upgrade the current ones of the arc furnaces that you have, running your silicon, and be able to double the throughput. So like I said, there's no point at all with going to the blast, I should say the arc furnace 1s when you have a blast furnace 2, because the blast furnace 2s can process more material than the the arc furnace 1s for the roughly same amount of energy used. So it's kind of a thing to play with. Now, if we wanted to, we could theoretically build a big gigantic system using nothing but the arc furnace 2s, run them through a whole system, but it would require a massive amount of power, which is what we don't currently have, at least as far as this goes. On that level, if we keep digging through some of the stuff that we have in here, we have been given well, the aluminum smelting, which is going to be something we're going to have to step into. I'm not done it yet, but we've got to figure out how we're going to step into it, because in order to step into the rockets, we need aluminum. And aluminum is going to cost us, if anything else, bauxite ore. And bauxite, well, we either have to build a road all the way over to this area, road, train line thingy, all the way over to here and start mining this, or I set up another one of the mines out here. I believe there, it's that one. We have a about 1,000 years, possibly. I'd say, what is that? 750,000 bauxite ore that is available to us to be delivered via a cargo ship wherever we so choose to do it. The thing is we then have to build a, well, where are we? Very processing spot over here to be able to deal with it, which is kind of the reason why I'm trying to get this out of the way, because I think if anything, this is going to be the location for said thing. Did you guys get those holes fixed? Good. Fix those for me very quickly. Nice. Okay, so that's going to be a step that we're going to have to work on. And again, I'm kind of at this spot right now where I'm either going to need to build a, like I said, a long rail line all the way the heck over there and start mining what we have on the island for now, or haul some in. As the way that all goes, in order to be able to touch any of this. So as far as these go, this is the rocket production assembly depot, and this is the rocket launch pad. Both of these are going to require certain things, but the one thing I want to kind of click on here again is the aluminum. In order to continuously be able to send rockets, just one, and however long it takes for them to produce that particular rocket, we need to be able to create at least 80 steel per minute, 24 of these per minute, and 300 of those in order to make it work. Now, I'm assuming it's been a long time. I'm assuming they've changed all of the way that this works now, because the last time I launched a rocket, we were only doing it for the fun and giggles of it. It was a research object, and that is no longer the case. Rockets now, if I can click the right button, are now used to help deploy and supply a space station. So if we click on this button, we need, I believe, 80 of these space station parts in order to be able to build a space station. And then on top of that, we have to be able to keep the station crewed, fed, and in supply of research. One of the things that I'm not overly happy with about the game right now is the fact that in order for you to know that, you have to go on the internet to go find that information, because they, as of yet, I don't believe in here, have created a tutorial to figure out how to make this work. If it's there, please, by all means, point it out in the comments. But yes, I'm suggesting that if you're going to do it, you need to go online, go to their website, and read through how this works. It's going to take a constant supply of materials to keep the space station in orbit in order for it to give us any of the goodness that will come from it, i.e. there's going to be some research, orbital research, and yeah, space station, crewed station, orbital research, better rockets, space probes, and that's how you lead to the one of these endgame toys out here, plus some of this other stuff. So like if we want the best reactor, we're going to have to do space research for things like that. And rocket 2, space research, recycling, space research. There's a complete research chain in here. This, everything that's hidden behind that is going to be based off of that. And I'm assuming once you get all that done, then it doesn't really matter unless you can trade for other things. And I believe actually the space station is capable of trading usable points for other kinds of things. I know this might be a little talky episode for Fine right now. There's a couple other things I really wanted to actually play with, and we should start getting into them, which is these. How much does this cost for people? 250. Oy, offices. Offices, we need to probably get into offices fairly soon, and the reason why we need to get into offices, good lord, 1,000 people. I don't even know, man, it's crazy. These produce points that you can then spend on to do something similar as to what we're doing inside here. So we'll be able to use points times discussion studies to be able to increase some of the stuff in here, and I believe that is actually in here as well somewhere. I wish there was a search button in here, but it's, you know, it is what it is on those kind of deals. And if you're running into extra people, like if you're just way too many people to do various things, yeah, there we go, right there. There's the buttons, there's the numbers I wanted to see. So plus 2.5% to truck capacity, plus 2% to research efficiency, plus 1.8%. It's just good stuff you've already got. And the more, like, train capacity even, wow, the more people you have working on this. So if I get rid of that office, use the button, it's fine, and give me a 3, I believe these numbers go up, and these numbers continue to go up the more people you have working on the thing. So you can think of this as another edict pile of stuff that you can work on, but as long as you can supply it the people, the electricity, and the parts, then you get some serious stuff. And this is the other reason why I'm working on making more computing. If you boost it with computing, it makes a considerable amount more focus points for you to play with. So yeah, it's going to be something that we're going to need to start looking at very soon, which is why I'm kind of starting to think about taking a step back. I need to really, and I mean really double down on making the food production functional, the water production functional, the fun stuff in here as far as these household appliances, household goods, especially the bonuses for the medical supplies, and we need to get the second medical supplies going up and running. And again, just all of this, plus we need to start, like, just literally expanding this as much as we possibly can if we want to get any of this functionality going. On top of all that, and again, on top of all that, I'm not planning on just doing a couple of these. Planning on, well, I need to turn the thing around. Let me hang on a second. Grab, turn around, because they have a kind of a connection. Where are you? Is it the wrong way? Hold on. Control, turn around. I think you fit. Yeah, there's your entrance. We're going to do something kind of like that probably, and then pick it up. Something kind of like so here, and then it's going to be like, if we don't do anything right here, it's going to be boop, 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 and boop. Because I'm not having a space station fall out of the sky because I can't keep it supplied. So that's a future issue. That's a future Frogman problem. Right now, he's not worried about it. We're just going to continue to try to build a few things. I think in the between times of the episodes, I'm going to start tearing all of this out. And we're going to need to start tearing all this out because we're going to need to seriously start thinking about removing all of the excess stuff out of this area. I need to start moving, say, the electronics down. I mean, I'm going to be so far as to say that it is time to move this out of the way. I'm going to be rebuilding oil probably in here, and we're going to say it's going to take at least that much room. I'm going to at least put down this much, if not more. I figure at least that much, just because we need that much fuel, and we're going to need that much process just to keep the plastic, the plastic and the rubber up and running for the thought that I have for this. Whoop, see, this is what I love. That, goodbye, go away, good enough. Because we now have a serious amount of copper, and we could be definitely doubling this up, but in order to double that up, we're going to have to double this up. So we're at this point now where it's mid-game, as far as I'm concerned, and we need to start increasing production in order to make it to the end game, which we're still going to need to be increasing to make more production. So I know there's a kind of a lot of stuff all over the place, and I know I've been kind of just rattling and prattling around. There's going to be some production stuff happening fairly soon as well. We're going to be ripping out a bunch of this mountain and probably moving a bunch of things over here because I'm probably going to need the space where those trees are sitting at right now. And there's maybe going to be a little bit of outposting done because we have trains, we have access, we can do it. Throughput's there. There's no reason to, say, build all of the little things that we're building right here. I could easily just pull the steel out and move it like up here and just, instead of making a long line of steel, do this and this, and then do something kind of like that, tie them together, and then that's done. Easily separated and taken care of. Something like that could be done. And then we just tie a train in on one side to deliver the process or the ores, and the other side we have a train that comes in and picks up stuff off either one of those boxes, and we can put that out of the way, like anywhere. Just maybe down here. Maybe I clean this up, and instead of having this iron go all the way over there, I just have the iron dump off back over here via belts, gets picked up by this train, and then delivered back to base. So that's a decision I'm going to make in another time. For now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you guys very much. I hope you guys understand that this is probably going to be, I don't know how long this is going to be, and I'm going to try to see if we can at least get the 3 episodes out this week. I will let you all know via the community notes or whatever the heck it is once I find out what's going on, whether we're going to go back to 2 days. But for now, I'll see what we can't do. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.